Hello, chat, and welcome to the stream. Happy Friday, everybody. Started a minute late today. Hope you don't mind. I got a little lost looking at the internet, so my apologies there. A couple things. One, I got the parts for my Elgato in, or I already had my Elgato, but I got the new cords for my Elgato yesterday. So I have everything. I should have everything that I need in order to stream consoles now, which is very exciting. Next week next week we'll probably be working into the or we'll be starting on the PS2 library. So looking forward to that. Also, you may notice, excuse me, that my voice is a little bit hoarse today. That is because allergy season apparently has begun. So last night I must have suffered from some drainage. So yeah, my voice isn't at its peak tippy toppy shape at the moment, so you'll have to forgive me for that. I'll be taking plenty of water breaks, and if I don't, please remind me to hydrate. Sometimes I can forget. Let's see, is everything ready? Turn on desktop audio. We'll go ahead and play some music. That's not what I typed in. Okay. We don't get the xylophone all that often. It's pretty nice. Okay, so what's the agenda for today? Today we'll be going over what I already wrote down, and then we'll be starting on some new lore stuff. Probably do some more biographies, character biographies today. But yeah, let's go over what we've wrote down already. As you know, I've been working on a very original card game. So here's some of that. Here's some of that lore. Let me know if everything is rendering properly as well. If you can hear everything properly. Where is it? Okay, should be open. Okay. So there's a few areas. There's the preface, history, personal accounts, and biographies. So again, this is my original card game. I call it I'm tossing around some names for it right now. I don't really have a name for it. I'm thinking maybe either I kind of like the name poker right now, although blackjack is sort of like another option I'm going for. So here's a preface. This is by the in-universe author. Cohiba's just such a dependable... This is a preface and introduction to the book. Cohiba's just such a dependable brand, and I like Cohiba. They did an article on me in Cigar Aficionado, and I believe I said Cohiba's. I mean, the beautiful thing is... Well, I guess maybe I should start with the fact that I had never used a brine fuel for a real-world tournament until the first World Series of Poker event of the year. So, the $25,000 comes up. And then on day one, I just drank regular coffee because I didn't know what time I was going to show up and play. In the $25,000 buy-in event, you have a lot of chips, so it was no big rush to be in there. So I came in earlier than my usual at 8 p.m. The tournament started at 2 p.m. I made the end of the day, and then I said, okay, here it is. Here's my first 2 p.m. start. I pulled up the brine fuel and shot a video, and I just couldn't believe it. I'm not making this up. I mean, yes, you can write that I own a piece of the company. I'm not paid any cash, and I'm not making this up. It was just incredible that I just didn't have the ups and downs I usually have when I drink some coffee. Especially in my profession, where being steady is prized. So, I used it then. And then I was like, holy shit, this is incredible. So I used it for day 3. I made the final table on day 3. Unfortunately, I think I finished 6th in that one. $95,000 payday. So then I went on kind of the rush of a lifetime. I made 5 final tables in the first 20 days and had an 18th, but finished in a field of 300 players. And every day 2 and every day 3 I'd drink one of these. I did it because most day 1s I'll come in late. Well, the latest you could possibly come in as you can sign up with a fresh stack on day 2 at 2 p.m. So I did that a couple of times. Wait, is that a typo? Well, the latest you can possibly come in as you can sign up with a fresh stack on day 2, that should be is at 2 p.m. So I did that a couple of times. I did that in the stud tournament, event number 19, finished 4th overall. Or that should be I finished 4th overall. And I showed up with my brine fuel. I did it in the dealer's choice and in the stud. And in the stud I had the chip lead by the end of the day. And in the dealer's choice, event number 36, $10,000 buy-in, I made it to day 2, but I ended up finishing 2nd. So it's just weird. 1st, 2nd, 4th, 5th, 6th, that should not be capitalized. 6th. And every day 2 and every day 3, I drink exactly 1 brain fuel. And then I started to get a little bit tired late on day 3 when I was heads up for the bracelet? That should be bracket. Bracket. Because I won a bracket on Sunday. I was pushing myself too hard. And then... Hello there. Because I won a bracket on Sunday. I was pushing myself too hard. And then I'm back heads up for one on Wednesday. And all of a sudden, I'm just starting to fade. So I slammed another brine fuel. And Mike, the mouth, Matusau, slapped me in the face. Slapped. That should be slapped. Just going over some of the lore I already wrote down. I thought, why not? It's 1 in the morning, and yeah, I'll be up till 10 in the morning, but I'm not sleeping whether I finish 1st or 2nd anyway. And then I came back, and I played really good, but unfortunately, I just didn't catch some cards when I needed to. But anyway, that's the brine fuel story. Tuesday, I'm coming in as Gandalf the White. So that's the preface. Good on you. I'm glad to hear that you're working on your creative stuff. I'm always happy to hear, I'm always happy to hear about people doing their thing. Writing a book? Go for it. I mean, is there really anything stopping you? Yeah, go for it. I mean, I've tried The Kingdom of Thousand Rainbow. Well, I don't know what context you're speaking in. Is that the title of your book? So that was the preface. Here's the history. Here's the history of the world. This character is like. Well, I don't know if there's lore here that I'm not understanding, but I mean, it sounds like he got it all figured out, so. Now, while poker's exact origin is the subject of debate, many game scholars point to the French game poker and the Persian game asnas as possible early inspirations. For example, in the 1937 edition of Foster's Complete Hoyle, R.F. Foster wrote that the game of poker, as first played in the United States, 5 cards to each player from a 20-card pack, is undoubtedly the Persian game of asnas. However, in the 1990s, the notion that poker is a direct derivative of asnas began to be challenged by gaming historians, including David Parley. What is certain, however, is that poker was popularized in the American South in the early 19th century as gambling riverboats in the Mississippi River and around New Orleans during the 1930s helped spread the game. One early description of poker, played on a steamboat in 1829, is recorded by the English actor Joe Cowell. The game was played with 20 cards ranking from ace, high, to 10, low. In contrast to this version of poker, 7-card stud only appeared in the middle of the 19th century and was largely spread by the U.S. military. Okay, I was like, wait, is military spelled with 2 L's? No, that's 1 L. It became a staple in many casinos following the Second World War and drew in popularity with the advent of the World Series of Poker in the 1970s. Texas Hold'em and other community card games began to dominate the gambling scenes over the next couple of decades. The televising of poker was a particularly strong influence, increasing the popularity of the game during the turn of the millennium, resulting in the poker boom a few years later, between 2003 and 2006. Today, the game has grown to become an extremely popular pastime worldwide. Now, obviously, I wasn't able to cover everything. You know, it's it's a brief summary. It didn't go over, like the, like blackjack or anything like that. Any of those other derivatives. I figured Texas Hold'em was the most, lore relevant. So, yeah. Here's the personal account. This is the author's personal account, setting up sort of the events of the story. I started getting into the game seriously about 4 years ago, when I was a senior in high school. I've been pretty much a cash game player, but I do play tournaments as well. I play anything from $25, $25, $50 to $200, $400. Pretty much anything that's running. I play online on a day-to-day basis. For me, one of the aspects of poker I enjoy the most is heads up, because it really lets you play the player. I've always struggled playing full ring games because it's a very mechanical game. If you're following guidelines on how to play before the flop and how to play on the flop, it'll carry you pretty far, but that's not quite as true in heads up. You really have to understand the player and understand how they think. It's really like a chess game because it's so back and forth. You try to figure them out and they adjust to you and it goes back and forth. For me, I really enjoy the challenge. Playing the best player's heads up might not be the most profitable thing, but it really helps you hone your game, and those skills will help you in tournaments or full ring or whatever you're playing. The thing I rely on most in poker is my instincts. A lot of players rely on a more mathematical approach, and I don't know a lot of the odds and the math as well as a lot of those top players. A lot of those top players do. But where I think I have an edge is that I've seen and I've played with all these great players. so I know how they generally think and what their weaknesses are. So when I'm playing full ring in tournaments, and when I'm in a pot, I'm generally entering it heads up, which I think gives me a big edge post-flop. A lot of these guys are playing that pretty mechanical style, so when you put them on a test, they probably haven't seen... So when you put them to a test, they probably haven't been in that situation as much as I have. I'm used to being in those situations, having spent so much time playing really good players. I really like tournaments because it really is a whole different game. There's also the human element, which is something that playing online lacks. I'm relatively inexperienced playing tournaments. This is only my 6th or 7th big buy-in event, so I'm starting to pick up on some things now that I was missing in my first events. Playing live tournaments is a much more passive game. There's more limping involved. You have a chance to see a lot more flops. Also, there are a lot of recreational players in these events, whereas when you're playing high stakes online, for the most part people know what they're doing. So live is probably an easier game, but the transition can be difficult. I'm just trying to play more tournaments for sure. I just turned 21, so I'll be playing as many WSOP events as possible this year. After this, I have the EPT Grand Final and the $25,000 WPT Championship, so hopefully I can do some damage. Obviously, this part isn't finished yet. I still have to write, what happens at the Grand Final and the Championship. That's gonna be off stream though. But yeah, I have plenty to do there. What we were working on before were the biographies. This section of the journal is dedicated to recognizing each of the players that play poker. So here we have Chris Moneymaker, $3,000 in winnings, born in Atlanta, Georgia, member of Team PokerStars since 2003. He turned, so we have the how much they won, where they were born, and just like a little fun fact. And then a small blurb sort of describing who they are. He turned $86 into $2.5 million and a worldwide poker boom. And yes, for the millionth time, that is his real name. Christopher Brian Moneymaker. At this point, since his historic win, Moneymaker has most definitely worn out his surname, at least as a starting point for a mainstream media anecdote. But there's still no sign of the poker boom he started, or mostly started, slowing down. The humble accountant from Tennessee turned poker icon is likely the most influential poker player in the history of the poker world, and he's still out there grinding, sharing his joy of the game with fans almost 2 decades later. Not only that, he is also one of the most likable poker characters we have today. So, Chris Moneymaker is a pretty important character in the lore. Obviously being, the big shot, right? It's sort of ambiguous right now whether or not he's an antagonist or protagonist. I'm thinking it's sort of morally gray. But as the story develops, I'll figure it out. Gus Hansen. $10 million in winnings, born in Havdrup, Denmark. And I did look it up, Havdrup is a real place. Voted one of People magazine's sexiest men alive in 2004. Without a doubt, Gus Hansen's play was renowned for being aggressive, erratic, and loose. But to make no mistake, the Great Dane was, and still is, a brilliant poker player. Though he has just one World Series of Poker gold bracelet? Why does it say bracelet? Hansen is one of only 3 players inducted into the World Poker Tour Poker Walk of Fame. I need to workshop that. Seems like a long word, a long title there. The World Poker Tour Poker Walk of Fame for winning 3 WPT events. His all-time tournament winnings top 10 million. But that only hints at what he's won and lost in major high-stakes cash games and playing insane sessions online. In fact, Gus famously lost over $20 million playing on full tilt poker in the mid-2010s. As you could guess, there are naysayers. Forum pundits peg him as a lucky loose cannon. Pros grumble of his legendary bad beats, and novices watching at home frantically flip through their how to play Hold'em guides to find out where it says you should re-raise a 2-7 offsuit. Even Hansen admits to making some questionable plays in his day. I've raised with cards less attractive than what's in my toilet after I take a dump in it, he says. But Gus Till perseveres. So Gus is sort of like the, the anti-hero loose cannon, Everybody loves to hate him a little bit. Antonio Esfandiari, 27 million in winnings, born in Tehran, Iran, who's a former professional magician. The magician's epic shot in front of his $18 million pile at the first ever 1 million big one for one drop is surely a defining moment for his poker career, but it's far from the only one. The one-time illusionist has more than proved his mettle across a wide range of poker variants in the highest stakes cash games and the most sought-after tournaments. He may not rank among the leaders in tournament wins or WSOP bracelets, but when he wins, he has made them count. A lot. And that's where we are right now. And I think if it's not obvious at this point, April Fools. Happy April Fool's Day. I did not invent poker. And I am not writing a poker-themed story or making a poker-themed card game. This was albeit probably a little longer than I thought it was, a joke. I hope it was a little funny, at least. Don't worry, it didn't take that much effort. I basically just copy-pasted a bunch of poker stuff on top of my already existing template. But yeah, April Fools. I hope you didn't get into any mischief today, or maybe you forgot it was April Fool's Day today. Who knows? None of my coworkers are very fun, so I didn't think to do any April Fool's pranks to them, but yeah, I figured I'd do something. I mean, I don't know if it landed or if it was obvious or subtle, but yeah, I did not invent poker. It didn't waste too much time, hopefully, but yeah, here we are. This is the actual lore. Okay, welcome actually to the real stream. So before I leave that behind, I wanted to mention, I wanted to put like a poker fan fiction, in the like story section, like the account section. I went to fanfiction.net and looked up poker to see if there was anything like based on poker, like the cards themselves, like the King of Hearts and the like Jack of Diamonds, if there was like a fan fiction about them as characters. I couldn't find any, but I found like the next best thing, which was characters playing poker. But it turns out you can't copy and paste from fanfiction.net, so I improvised. But yeah, again, April Fools. I kind of wanted to do something fun like that. Something a little bit quirky. I wasn't sure what to do actually, but that seemed like seemed like a decent idea. But anyway, now we can go over the real stuff. So, for anybody new, I'm designing a card game about artists fighting egos that have come to life, taken form. Sort of, you can think of it sort of like, if you play Kingdom Hearts, it's sort of like the Unversed, in a way. It's like negative emotions made into physical creatures. But this is the document for, like, the lore and world building. And I have done some off-stream. I've done more of the personal account. I don't know where I left off last time. Did I read the personal account last time? I don't think I did. I don't think I ever read out loud. Did I? I don't remember. Anyway, I'll go over it. Okay, I think right here. Regardless of these voicings, the plan and proof of concept were displayed at 149th Mieux's Grand Showcase in 2006. Its designer, architect LaCarl Henmore, handedly won Best in Discipline and has served on the Mieuxian Senate since, seeing his vision to completion. So the author is attending a is attending a big art festival in the country and city-state of Mieux's. I arrived at the airport. I haven't read over this after writing it, so this will be helpful for me. I arrived at the airport and met with the people who would be my hosts for the duration of my stay, an elderly man named Vincent and his wife, Harper. Vincent and Harper drove me to their home. It was a very slow trip, since most Mieuxians walk from place to place, and foot traffic increased tenfold on and around the week of the showcase. I didn't mind, as it was all the better to admire the scenery. On ground level, the city was a marvel. It seemed that on each wall was either a mural or a street performer, and the dress of the common pedestrian was just as diverse and eccentric as the rest of the city. I had an idea of what I was getting into prior to my visit, but even still, it was overwhelming for the first few hours. Vincent and Harper had lived in Mieux's since being born in the late 1930s, living through 21 separate showcases, as well as the destruction of Hurricane Meredith. Wrought by Hurricane Meredith? That makes more sense. When we arrived at their home, I did my best to hold off. There's an extra space there. I did my best to hold off on asking any of the 1,000 questions I had circling around in my head. I figured it would be rude for a guest to interrogate their host before even seeing the house, so I bit my tongue. Their home was a cozy space, fit for two people who don't mind being close to each other. The front door opened up into the living room, which flowed uninterrupted into the kitchen that doubled as the dining room. To the right was a short hallway with doors on either side, one for the bedroom, one for the bathroom, and one for a small office space. I would be setting up in the living room and sleeping on the couch. I didn't mind. It was my favorite room in the house. The home felt like a microcosm. And by the way, microcosm, I always thought it was spelt micro, C-A-C-H-A-S-M, as in like a chasm, like a microcosm. That always made sense to me for some reason, like, oh, it's like a small chasm. of everything. Like the chasm contains a little bit of everything. I don't know what that doesn't make sense to me much in hindsight, but microcosm is spelled with an O. So, fun fact. The home felt like a microcosm of the city, speckled with a spectrum of colors and shapes. Speckled with a spectrum of colors and shapes in every direction and crevice. They seemed to possess an artifact or artwork from every conceivable culture, but it was hard to tell if they were well-traveled. That should have a hyphen. If they were well-traveled, or if the city was simply that cosmopolitan. But the living room was special. It seemed that it served as their studio of sorts, with many of their own unfinished pieces being strewn about in obscure places. After receiving the tour, I got my opportunity to speak with the couple about my grandfather. In 1965, Hurricane Meredith reached Mieus, and although it had lost much of its strength by the time it arrived, it was still able to cause significant damage to the city. At the time, my grandfather was 25 years old, and he was a member of the United Nations Peace Corps. His assignment was to help recover any pieces of artwork that may have survived the storm, and submit it to a restoration team. Vincent and Harper met him one day while volunteering to search the rubble of the Graer, a former fine arts museum. They remembered him for the way he immediately began speaking to them, as if they were already friends. He greeted us like we were old pals who hadn't met in years, Vincent told me. His Italian wasn't very good, but he sure was confident. Shortly after being introduced, Harper heard a small voice from amongst the rubble. She notes that this was especially alarming, since it was known that the museum was closed the day before it came down, and no one expected anyone to have been inside. The trio hurried to the sound's origin. Sound's origin to find the smallest glimpse of a young boy underneath the rocks. It was miraculous, Harper says. He was inside a pocket of the rocks. We could only see a portion of his face, but we knew he was terrified. The boy spoke English, but his fear transcended language. My grandfather took the initiative to stay with the boy and comfort him, as Vincent and Harper went for help. We don't know what they said to each other, but whatever it was, it calmed the kid down, Vincent explained. Your granddad really seemed to be able to make friends with anyone, Harper added. After my grandfather left with the rescue team, Vincent and Harper claimed that they never met him again. However, they told me that a friend of theirs named Melvin Mondo volunteered on that same rescue team, and that he was participating in the grand showcase in a couple of days. With that, we settled in for the rest of the evening, but my relaxed attitude was a facade. Now that I was finally here, my excitement could hardly be contained. Sunday cannot come soon enough. On Saturday, I was treated to a proper tour of the city by my hosts. Although a number of locations were closed in preparation for the grand showcase, the three of us managed to cover a lot of ground. We walked through the Graer too, enjoyed a night of music by the scintillating Amavelli Tutlio, and finished off the evening sharing a bottle of Cremette de Raquette. The day was uneventful otherwise, but learning the lay of the land would prove to be useful later. The next morning was the official first day of the showcase. Normally, it might have been extremely difficult to decide where to start first, but I remembered that I had a goal in mind. I resolved to locate the area dedicated to the School of Crafting, where Melvin Mondo was likely to be. Vincent and Harper elected to stay home, not wanting to deal with the hustle and bustle, a sentiment that I would come to understand. Driving to the showcase would have been impossible. From half a mile away, the streets were packed so tightly that one could not see the stones of the road underfoot. The walk up to the Babalabticon was a task, but the final stretch of the journey, during which the complex was dead ahead, was like something from a dream. The scale of the structure is impossible to capture with words or photography. Such awe did it inspire that on more than a dozen occasions I witnessed festival goers falling backwards onto the ground from the combination of attempting to find the top of the building and the dizziness that followed. I tried it myself, and had to look away for fear of joining the befallen travelers and embarrassing myself too. It is a sensation that I imagine is similar to what astronauts experience when they see the Earth from orbit, or when explorers discover the Grand Canyon for the first time. A map that was provided online indicated that the central tower was the Kalkokoti Tower of Craftsmanship and Invention. Once I passed the threshold into the tower, the difficulty of my task became soberingly clear. I was greeted by rows upon floors of exhibits and displays, broken up only by staircases, escalators, and elevators. It calls into question how anybody was supposed to be able to see everything within a week, let alone experience it all enough to make a sound judgment as a voter. Consulting the map's directory, Melvin was listed as a co-creator, assisting a Carmen H. a couple floors above me, so I made my way to the closest elevator. In that distance alone, my eye was caught by a number of displays that tempted me to stay and browse, but I knew I should focus on my task at hand first, or I'd be meandering all day. I entered the lift with a handful of other festival goers and pressed the button for the second floor. A man with disheveled hair rambled to himself next to me, and I asked him if he was all right. He looked at me and smiled a bit sheepishly, although I could see anxiety in his eyes. "Thank you, miss, but I'm fine. I thought something felt off, but it was nothing. I'm Trajita. Nice to meet you." We shook hands and parted ways just as soon as we had met, him continuing further up the tower and I stepping off onto my floor. Okay, I'm going to stop for a sec. This sentence doesn't sound right to me. We shook hands and parted ways just as soon as we had met. I'm gonna rewrite this. He continued further up the tower, and I stepped off onto my floor. That sounds a lot better. We shook hands and parted ways just as soon as we had met. He continued further up the tower, and I stepped off onto my floor. Another sprawling showroom. My map led me to a space in the corner of the room that had been cleared out to make room for Carmen's piece. Okay, I used the word room twice very closely together. Or 3 times. Another sprawling showroom. My map led me to a space in the corner of the... I don't want to say room. My map led me to a space in the corner of the hall. In the corner of the hall. In the corner of the... What's another word for room? A map led me to a space in the corner of the room, gallery. I guess gallery could work. My map led me to a space in the corner of the gallery. Gallery. That had been cleared out to make way for Carmen. Further up the tower. For Carmen's piece, some kind of mechanical bull attached to a circular track. When I arrived, Melvin was on top of the bull, preparing for a test run. Carmen waved me off, away from the track, and began running the test. "Prepare yourself, Mondo," she shouted. "Hit it, Carmen, this is what I was made for." Melvin replied back with vigor that betrayed his age. The machine roared to life and began traveling around the track, while at the same time gyrating and rocking wildly in an effort to throw Melvin off of its back. He held on valiantly and would have likely made a full rotation if not for a horrible screeching sound that prompted Carmen to deactivate the bull as it went into the third quarter. "What did you do this time, Mondo?" Carmen asked. "I thought you said it was ready." I guess that should be a question mark. "Hold on, let me give it another look." Melvin said as he dismounted. Carmen turned to me now that the test had concluded. She was a younger woman with short, curly hair and a desire to make mistakes. We greeted each other, and she was excited to present her piece to me. A mechanical bull meets a roller coaster. I call it the go-round. This is the first prototype, but it's shaping up, she explains. I asked her what it meant, but she seemed confused. According to her, she built it for fun and nothing else. I figured that was fair enough and didn't press further. I asked if I could speak to Melvin, and she waved him over to me. He was a much older man than Carmen, at least 30 years her senior if I had to make a guess. There was no hair on his head, save a finely trimmed goatee. I asked how they knew each other. Melvin was a longtime family friend of Carmen's, and since he was a handyman and master tinkerer, he agreed to accompany her to the showcase. I inquired with Melvin as to if he ever knew of Felix Perpin. Phew, okay, and that's where the story stands right now. As you can see, there's still more to do. I think I need to write out, Kara and Melvin's conversation here. The other 6 days of the festival, probably not in detail like this one, but just like the main attractions for each. And then the end of the festival where Kreshewick wins everything, and then the Ego's showing up, and then starting to fight. So still got a lot to go on that front. And I didn't do any new biographies. I worked on the account, the personal account, the whole time. So no new biographies. I knew that was a lot. I know that's a lot. It's only 6:43 though. Wow. I thought that would have taken a little longer. Okay. So we have plenty of time to bust out some some of these biographies. That needs to be 36. I don't know what I heard. I think that was like a weed whacker or something. That was a very strange sound. Okay, so who's next on the chopping block? Chef, you have been chopped. Bro. Has it really been blank the whole time? No. Has it really been blank the whole time? Nobody told me? Guys, come on. I thought we were on the same team. See, this is why I check. This is why I always check all the time. Except for the one time I don't, and this happens. SMH, my head. Okay, but everything seems to be working fine now. I thought I was past blunders like this. Okay, where were we? We were crafting. We were doing craft. Actually, that's pretty convenient, since those are like the characters we're talking about right now. Carmen H. So I just mentioned Carmen H. Nationality Mexican. So Carmen H's specialty is prototype. So she's sort of like a tinkerer herself. You know, she's always putting together she's always just putting things together. Not necessarily with an expectation that they'll work, but just to see what will happen. Little flavor text. Maybe, we'll figure that out. We'll figure that out later. So what's her story? Carmen Hayich is, well, she probably, I don't know, maybe she grew up in like a garage where there was always just odds and ends, you know, laying about for her to mess with. Maybe she had a parent who, you know, maybe she lived adjacent to like a scrapyard, and she would always spend her time in there, you know, putting things together. So how about, like, Carmen's dad, right? Like, is an inventor, and he has all these drafts for things he wants to make, but he never actually ends up following through on any of them. So Carmen, living close to a scrapyard, decides to go out and put this stuff together herself, just out of anything she can find. Dad was an aspiring inventor. Dad was an aspiring inventor. But their family, family's means limited his ability to ever through on of his ideas. Oftentimes, inventions got past never got past the his inventions never left the pages of his journal. His inventions never left the pages of his journal. I think I should use father there instead. Carmen's father was an aspiring inventor, but his family's means limited his ability to ever follow through on any of his ideas. Oftentimes, his inventions never left the pages of his journal. This obviously frustrated him, but bothered Carmen even more so. His inventions never left the pages of his journal. This obviously frustrated him, but it bothered Carmen even more so? More so. She loved her father. To see him potential. So you loved her father and hated to see him not reach his potential. I had it in my head. This obviously frustrated him, but it bothered Carmen even more so. She loved her father and hated to see him not reach his potential. She knew that could do great things. If only the money were there. Determined to see her father succeed. She would take daily trips to the local scrapyard. Trip to the local scrapyard. And fabricate things. The odds and ends she would find. And to the locals. Eventually, she tried her hand at creating a prototype of the blueprints father's journal. Creating a prototype of one of the blueprints in her father's journal. And succeeded? I already said succeeded up there. Eventually, she tried her hand at creating a prototype of one of the blueprints in her father's journal. Which produced a at creating one of the blueprints in her father's journal, which produced a working prototype. Working prototype. Things changed in her family's life for the better. She was convinced to one of her latest invention, the grand showcase by her. Her father. She was convinced to show off her latest invention at the grand showcase by her family. after some reluctance. She agreed. Friend Mondo with her. Boosh. Oh, we need a little flavor thingy. School crafting. Nationality, Mexican. Favorite blank? Blank? Or... I think it's something like... something like prefers gears to cogs, or prefers sprockets to gears. Is sprocket a thing? I hear sprocket. I don't know what a sprocket is. Like, I've heard sprocket. Sprocket. Oh, it's kind of like a gear. It's like a flat gear. Well, what's the difference? A sprocket is a profiled wheel with teeth. Or cogs that mesh with a chain track. Sprocket. Gear. I don't know what the difference is. But she does. Knows her. From her gears. Knows her sprockets from her gears. Prefers sprockets to gears. Good. Who's next? Oh, you know what? I just realized I should probably change my title. Like my stream title. Open stream in browser. Mute. Edit. World building for my homemade card game. Done. There we go. Okay. I will copy you. Copy that. Get rid of that extra. That extra. So next up on the chopping block is Gerald Bush. Gerald Bush. School of Crafting. Nationality. Fun fact for everybody. Here's a fun meta fact. Gerald Bush was originally named after a friend of mine. That is not named Gerald Bush. You know, they had a different name. But shortly after creating the character and naming the character after them, it turned out that they were going by a different name now. So I had to change the name. Or I didn't have to, but I changed the name to something else. So a little fun vague fact for you. Gerald Bush. That sounds like a German name? A little? Gerald Bush. Gerald Bush's specialty is serrated blade. You know, like a blade with teeth on it. So let's see. I mean, they don't all need like crazy backstories. He could just like making blades, you know. He could just be a knife connoisseur. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Let's see. Where should we start here? Like I don't have a clear picture here of what his backstory should be. You know what I mean? Like the other ones seem pretty obvious after a little bit. Gerald. What makes you tick, Gerald? Chat, any ideas? A German bladesmith who specializes in serrated blades. What kind of backstory could we give him? Doesn't have to be like very serious. I mean, Adrian O'Wright, his backstory is that he survived a tornado by hiding in a box, and now he's infatuated with making boxes. So, you know, it's like sort of that's the kind of level that we're on. It's not like completely balls to the wall or anything like that, but you know, we're not taking ourselves too seriously here. I'm drawing a blank. I should... Was forced to chop wood with a blunt axe. That's kind of funny. Also, welcome to the stream, Cap. Was forced to chop wood with a blunt axe. So it's like He was like, you know what? I'm tired of chopping wood with a blunt axe. Let me make a blade that'll actually cut this stuff. I like the idea of him learning how to forge a blade just so that he could cut some wood. That's dedication. I think I'll go with that, yeah. I mean, that is what you would use a serrated blade for, right? Like, cutting wood. That would be like a handsaw, right? I mean, he's pictured with a serrated blade on a sword, but, you know, that works too. You know, with like a handsaw. Where do we begin? Wood. Like, was he living alone? Or was he chopping wood on his homestead? Maybe he inherited a home and you know, like a cabin. Or like maybe he was trying to make a cabin. You know, like make a house. Because I don't know how you could force somebody to chop wood and it not be like very dark. Dad. Took his dad's sword and made it serrated. His dad did not like it. Lamau. Okay. Okay, how about this? How about this angle? Gerald was like punished by his dad to go outside and chop wood, knowing that the axe was blunt. So it'd be like really frustrating and hard to do and, you know, be like a punishment. But Gerald was like, screw this. Ding, ding, ding. The prized family sword. That is funny. That's a good idea. I just don't know what the first sentence should be. One day, his dad punished him. One day, or... all of these start with like A. O. A. O. C. I kind of imagine it as like Doofenshmirtz and his dad, you know, the Die springen die nicht. You know. You know what I'm talking about, where he's standing outside like a gnome. Gerald. was an angsty boy. Gerald was an angsty boy. I'm thinking something along the lines of like, you know, punishment in the Bush household was a harsh ordeal. Something like that. I think I'll start with that and see where it goes. Punishment for misbehaving was not taken lightly in the Bush household. Not taken lightly in the Bush household. Gerald and his brothers were well behaved most days. Gerald made a misstep although Gerald and his brothers were well behaved most days, well, maybe like on his 18th birthday, he decided to just be a little bit more wild than usual. His brothers were well behaved most days. Uncharacteristic his 18th birthday landed him a transformative sentence to chop wood, to chop a week's worth, maybe? Chop a week's worth of wood with the bluntest axe one has ever seen. The bluntest axe one has ever seen. Was fed up after only a couple of minutes. Decided to make his job easier. Modifying his father's beloved. Should it be like a great sword? A Zweihander? modifying his father's. That might be harder. Like, cutting wood with a serrated Zweihander. That is a fun word to type, though. So. Did I not spell it right? Zweihander. Decided to make his job easier by modifying his father's beloved Zweihander into a serrated saw. Got the job done. Became with consequences. Obvious consequences. I'll put a little quote in from Gerald himself. Week. The hardest I've ever been worked. The discipline was good. That week was the hardest I've ever been worked, but the discipline was good. Plus, he let me keep the sword. Want it anymore. That week was the hardest I've ever been worked, but the discipline was good. Plus, he let me keep the sword. I guess he didn't want it anymore. I was fed up. After only a couple of minutes, certainly got the job done, but came with obvious consequences. Was in use to trade for a use expect a to inspect a forge. He was Gerald was in Mieus to inspect a trade for an antique Zweihander of his own. antique, unmodified Zweihander of his own when the Ego War began. Boom. How about that? Gerald Bush. Punishment for misbehaving was not taken lightly in the Bush household. Although Gerald and his brothers were well behaved most days, an uncharacteristic bout of foolishness on his 18th birthday landed him a transformative sentence to chop a week's worth of wood with the bluntest axe one has ever seen. Gerald was fed up after only a couple of minutes and decided to make his job easier by modifying his father's beloved Zweihander into a serrated saw. It certainly got the job done, but came with obvious consequences. That week was the hardest I've ever been worked, but the discipline was good. Plus, he let me keep the sword. I guess he didn't want it anymore. Gerald was in Mieus to make a trade for an antique, unmodified Zweihander of his own when the Ego War began. I feel like Orville's blurb doesn't really fit in line with the other ones right now. Because these are all giving sort of like a backstory, you know? Sort of background. But Orville's is more so just describing what he does, you know? A daredevil of great renown from a line of a daredevil of great renown from the Midwestern United States. His acts almost always end in catastrophic disaster, followed by him walking out of the fire to uproarious applause. How he is so adept at cheating death has eluded both fans and critics alike, although Orville himself claims that he has met death in person and punched it in the face. For most, it's a good enough explanation as any. Rumors of his involvement in cult practices drove him to go on an extended tour outside the U.S., which eventually led him to Mieus. He seemingly joined the fight against the Ego simply for the thrill of it. I mean, I think it's good. It's just sort of like different. You know, it's different. Okay. What do you say we change up the music now for a little bit? Although this one is pretty chill. Let's change it up. Any suggestions for the music algorithm? It could be anything, chat. It can be anything. The first thing that appears in chat, I'll put into donkeys. The dunk. Boney and Bofus. Bofus what? Bofus these nuts. Got him. Bonnie and Bofus. I feel like I've heard that somewhere. It did not give me what I wanted. Bonnie and Bofus. is. A little bit more sinister than before. Oh, you know what? We didn't give him a little flavor thingy. Bush, School of Crafting, nationality, German. Favorite color? We haven't used favorite color yet. I feel like we should save favorite color for something. I don't know what. I don't know who could really fit that. I mean, probably one of the visual artists, but, you know. Hold on. I'm gonna go turn off my heater right quick. Oh, you know what I just realized, Cap? You missed my April Fool's joke for the day. I had this, like, long April Fool's joke where I was reading poker lore instead of Ego Opus lore. It was really kind of okay as an April Fool's joke. I swear. Gerald Bush, School of Crafting, nationality, German. For some reason, I want to do something. I feel like there's a like fun pun to be made with like teeth, cause like, you know, serrated edges have teeth, but you know, like I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this. Favorite tooth, metal ones. Nah, maybe we'll leave that one on the cutting room floor, I think. Nationality, German, teeth, sword, edge. Or maybe like a rated pun, like, oh, it's overrated. Get it? Because serrated? I don't know. I don't know what to do for this one. Or maybe we can give him like a quote. You know, put a quote there. I still think there's a pun here, like a teeth thing. Maybe something like, no one bears their teeth like me. Like a little slogan, maybe, like a catchphrase. No one bears their teeth like me. Because, like, you know, teeth, like serrated teeth. And that's his specialty. He makes serrated edges. No one bears their teeth like me. I'm going to leave it there until I come up with something better. Who's next? After Gerald Bush is Melvin Mondo. Boom, boom. You know, you almost get a sense that there's a melody. Melvin Mondo. Correcting. He's also Mexican. And Melvin Mondo's thing is finishing touches. That is their specialty. They pay close attention to the fine details. I suppose you could translate that as. Hold on, I'm stretching out the image so I can see it better. Okay. Yeah, so finishing touches. As explained in the story, he is a family friend of Carmen H. Like a tinkerer. You know, also a tinkerer. He specializes in those fine details, the finishing touches. Bing bong, bing bong, bing ding doink. Oh. We got that snare coming in? Okay, okay. I see you. Creating things. Melvin discovered that he had a passion for creating things. One year. Two. He decided to make his kids gifts instead of buying them from the store. Things when one year he decided to make his kids their Christmas gifts instead of buying them from the store. Began small. With and baubles. Across the years. Came more and more involved. became more and more involved. When ornaments and baubles across the years became more and more involved until became more and more involved. So we made a tradition, making each other at least one gift each year. Extended his giving to children in the neighborhood. Locally, he is known as I was gonna say, like, he was known as like a variation of Santa Claus, but I'm pretty sure they already have like a Mexican variation of Santa Claus. I think. Mexican version of Santa? Do they have one? Well, I mean, they have Santa. Surely they have, like, Santa, but I don't know if there's, like, a specific name for them. Accompanied Carmen Hayes at the grand showcase as her co-creator. What if his favorite holiday was like Halloween? Favorite holiday? I mean, the obvious answer would be his favorite holiday is Christmas, right? But, you know. Wouldn't it be funnier if it was something else? Favorite holiday? Boxing Day. Does Christmas Eve count as its own holiday? I don't... Does it? It's just the day before a holiday. Like, Locomotive Day? Is that a thing? Did you look it up? Favorite holiday. Locomotive Day. That's funny. I don't know why that's funny to me. It's a little loco, don't you think? Locomotive Day. I'm gonna look that up. Locomotive Day. Holiday for trains. He likes trains. That's the joke. He likes trains. I like trains. Making good progress, I think. Yeah. It's a pretty good job. Oops, 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 oops. Boom, boom. 36. We're almost through the crafting area. Uzel Shamato. Uzel Shamato. He's the ornate handgun guy. Nationality. Japanese. Okay. So Uzel Shimato's specialty is the ornate handgun. What was it that we decided on? Like, he has his specific handgun is like very special to him. Yeah, he has a close relationship with his personal handgun. He probably named it. You know, it's always on him. He's always got that thing on him. So, his bio definitely has to tie into that somehow. Because that's sort of like his shtick. I mean, it could just be like how he came into possession of it. Or, you know, maybe it was gifted to him when he came of age to, like, have a gun. And, like, it saved his life one day. Only likes one-offs. What does that mean? Only likes one-offs. Like a D&D campaign? Or is that a gun thing that I don't know? One of a kind. Oh, I see. Okay. I'm a little silly. Only likes one-offs. One of a kind. Yeah, I mean, his weapon is one of a kind. But how did it come to be? I kind of like the idea of him using it to, like, defend his home or something. Like, defend his family. Or defend himself. You know? Like, it came in handy. It was trusty, you know? So he keeps it on him all the time now. He names it, you know? Engraves it. Stuff like that. On a cold winter night. Really set the mood. On a cold winter night. Uzel. What was he doing on a cold winter night? Maybe he was like walking in the park with his girlfriend or something. Forget his gun. Forge his gun from the bones of his enemies. Mixes his gunpowder with the burnt ashes of his foes. That's a little hardcore. That's a little hardcore. I don't know if I want to make him that hardcore. Do they have open carry in Japan? I don't know. But he does it honorably. I don't think there's any honor in forging a gun from your fallen victim. I don't think that honors the victim very much. I'm pretty sure that's like highly dishonor. Big dishonor. With respect. Respectfully. Enjoying each other's company. Nowhere. They were attacked by a mugger. They were attacked by a mugger. Who attempted to take what they had on them. They were attacked by a mugger. I think it's implied what the mugger is there for. I don't think I need to specify that he's there to steal things from them. gifted handgun from his grandmother. Months prior. Thought to take it with him. Thinking quickly, he drew it and warded off the attacker. Attacker. He grew attached to his weapon. Naming it. What? I think he should name it after somebody. Should he name it after, like, his girlfriend or his grandma? I feel like naming your gun after your girlfriend is a little weird. Especially if you're still with them, right? Like, that'd be strange. Like, you named your gun after me. It's like, well, maybe somebody might find that, like, romantic. I don't know, though. I think it would, well, I don't know. I don't think it would make sense either to name it after his grandmother, because that would also be kind of weird. What would he name it, though? Like, what would you name your gun? Grew closely attached to his weapon. I think I like the idea of naming it after his grandma. Maybe like more of a nickname than like her name verbatim. What is a Japanese grandma name, though? Let me see. I wonder if I could look that up. Japanese grandma names. Okay, this is what I'm looking for. But, so the Japanese word her grandmother is obasan. Obasan. Sometimes shortened to basan or baba. One's own grandmother is called sobo or soba. Some Japanese children call their grandparents by the nicknames Jiji from Oji-san and Baba from Obasan. So, if he called his gun Gigi, it'd be like calling it Granny. Or Nana. In English. Which I think is kind of funny. It's wholesome, am I right? Wholesome 100 Reddit moment. cold winter night, Uzel and his girlfriend were walking in the park alone, enjoying each other's company. Out of nowhere, they were attacked by a mugger. Uzel had been gifted a handgun from his grandmother only a few months prior, and thankfully he had thought to take it with him. Thinking quickly, he drew it and warded off the attacker. He grew closely attached to his weapon, naming it Gigi in honor of his grandma, and going to great lengths to care for it and have it elegantly plated. You can wait. Can you plate a gun? Have it elegantly. Like, can you put plates on a gun to decorate it? Is that something you can do? I swear, I feel like I keep hearing new things in this song. It's been going on for like 30 minutes. Like where that organ come from, you know, for instance. On a cold winter night, Uzel and his girlfriend were walking in the park alone, enjoying each other's company. Out of nowhere, they were attacked by a mugger. Uzel had been gifted a handgun from his grandmother only a few months prior. Thankfully, he had thought to take it with him. Thinking quickly, he drew it and warded off the attacker. He grew closely attached to his weapon, naming it Gigi in honor of his grandma, and going to great lengths to care for it. He learned how to elegantly plate and engrave Gigi, and sought from then on to provide ornate self-defense to any who would desire it. Why was Uzel in Mieus, though? Was he showing off a new weapon? Or perhaps he was there to, like, teach a class? Like a shooting class? I think I like more the idea that he's there for not the showcase. Maybe he's serving as part of the security team. That might be interesting. Heard that the city had a limited edition bamboo silverware set. Yo. Oh, it's because he's Japanese, isn't it? Lozelle was, well, I mean, both of these can be true. Hmm. Lozelle was in Mieus. An auction. To win a... Mieus for an auction, hoping to win a limited edition silverware set. Was asked to provide security, agreed to have an excuse. Oh, so like, they asked him to go first. Okay, I like that. Where it's like, he is like, man, that silverware set's pretty cool. I'd love to go to that auction, but, you know, a trip to Mieus from Japan, that's pretty expensive. You know, maybe I'll pass. And it's like, hey, we could use security. We'll fly you over. Deal. I'll take it. They... position on the case. Detail. Uzel accepted a position on the Grand Showcase security detail. Or security team, rather. Uzel accepted a position on the Grand Showcase security team. The promise of free travel to Mieus, where he hoped to purchase a limited edition silverware set at auction. Character development. Lore. Favorite fork. Salad. His favorite fork is the salad fork. Nothing else even comes close. Uzel accepted a position on the Grand Showcase security team on the promise of free travel to Mieus, where he hoped to purchase a limited edition silverware set at auction. Did he ever get his silverware set? Who knows? Probably not, given everything. Well, the good ending would be that Uzel gets his silverware. He's still able to make the auction, but probably, for, because of the events of the plot, he probably didn't get a chance to go to auction. Very sad. You know what else is very sad? Alga Music crashed again. That's very sad. So, I'm going to need a new word or phrase. For the alga music. The next artist, by the way, is going to be Victoria Parks, who is a tailor who specializes in custom suits. Let's see. I want to see what limited edition bamboo silverware set sounds like. Will it accept hyphens? It will. I wish I knew how this program worked, and I wish I was able to understand it if I knew. I don't think either of those things would be true, though. Like, yeah, like even if I saw like the algorithm for how the music was made, I don't think I'd know what I'm looking at. Well, I know I wouldn't know what I'm looking at because I'm not a programmer at all. I tried learning like Unity once. It just wasn't happening. Victoria Parks. School of Crafting. Nationality. Okay. If you're from the United Kingdom, is your nationality British? Or is it UK? Like, it'd be British, right? Like you're British. Because you're from Great Britain. Yeah. Because the United Kingdom is several countries. So, I think it would be British. Nationality British. Wait. Oh, okay. That doesn't feel right either, though. Is British a nationality? Is British a race? Okay. British is a nationality. Englandite. Oh, mate, you're an Englandite. You've been Englandited for the murder of your entire family. Okay, let me... Victoria Parks. So as stated before, Victoria Parks is a tailor who specializes in custom suits. What's her deal? Is she like a famed fashion icon, or is she sort of like a local hero, you know? Victoria Parks. I feel like maybe we should speak more about her current career rather than her backstory. I feel like Victoria Parks doesn't have a very in-depth backstory. It's just, well, she wanted to be a tailor, so she became a tailor. Nothing tragic or anything like that. I think it'd be more interesting to explore what she's doing right now. Maybe she makes suits for the royal family. I don't know if that's a thing. I don't know if they have people do... I don't know if the royal family has, like, in-house tailors. They, you know what, now that I say it, they most likely do. They most likely have in-house tailors and don't, like, outsource to anybody. I mean, there's no reason Victoria Parks couldn't be an in-house tailor for the royal family. I think we can go that route. We could go... I don't know why I had this in my mind, but it's like... Yeah, and then we could make it so that she's an assassin. Planning to poison the royal family. I'm like, wait a second. No. Let's not do that. That would certainly add a wrinkle to things. Or maybe she was kicked out of Buckingham Palace because, like, somebody suspected her of foul play. Like, of attempted foul play. So they kicked her out, and then she had to, like, open up a private practice. I think I like that angle. Actually, as dumb as that started out, that sounds kind of fun. Victoria. Family of Great Britain as of their don't think you'd have more than one tailor as their in-house tailor. The royal family of Great Britain as their in-house tailor. As their in-tailor? As their in-house tailor. Unfortunately, after a misunderstanding, causes the family to suspect her of causes the family to or caused, rather. Unfortunately, after a major misunderstanding, a rift in their professional relationship, she was kicked out of. Okay, can I spell the Buckingham Palace challenge? Buckingham. I spelled it right? She was kicked out of Buckingham Palace. That is where they live, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's where the royal family lives. She was kicked out of Buckingham Palace. And her own private practice, where she thrives today. Has surprisingly straight teeth. Oh no. That's not very nice, Cap. The British are people too. Public at large side with her. How do I say the public, like, thought that it wasn't really that bad? They were on her side. Despite coverage from the press, behind her. Despite negative coverage from the press, the public rallied behind her. The public rallied behind her. Suits are cited as some of the finest in the UK. Her suits are cited as some of the finest in the UK. Many are glad. I want to say many are glad that she was kicked out, but that sounds harsh. But it's like, you know, they're glad that she got kicked out because now the public gets to enjoy her suits. You know. I don't know how to write that down. Despite negative coverage from the press, the public rallied behind her. Her suits are cited as some of the finest in the UK. Cited some of the finest in the UK. Says, I don't want to leave it at just that. It sounds kind of short. Fit her own. And her own. Regal flair. Many are happy her talent is being put to use where it is appreciated. That's good actually. The public rallied behind her. Many expressed many have expressed their happiness. Many have expressed their joy, her talent being put to use where it is properly appreciated. Cited as some of the finest in the UK, sporting high quality, excellent fit, and her own subtly regal flair. That's very good. I think that ties it together. That's nice. Thank you for that, Kat. Was creating I think it would be fitting if she was in Mieus to create a suit for the mayor for like the big award ceremony, and that's why she was there. To be worn by the Yaushin mayor at the awards ceremony. It's creating the suit to be worn by the Yaushin mayor at the awards ceremony. Or well, actually, yeah. She was in Mieus to create the suit. Worn by the mayor at the ill-fated award ceremony. She came to Mieus to create the suit worn by the mayor at the ill-fated. What is the mayor's name, by the way? I don't think I have a name for the mayor. I don't think it should be like a Calcocoti, because they're long dead. It's not really like a... Well, I guess it could be. Like, the Senate is based off of the Inspirocracy, right? But then there's like... The mayor is always a Calcocoti. Mr. Mayor. Wow. That's some Cartoon Network level naming right there. Quite insane in it. Hi. She came to Mieus to create the suit worn by Mayor... Mozambique. That is a funny name. Mayor Mozambique. I wish it sounded a little more Italian, though. Matzabiti. Mayor it's like mozzarella, you know. Mozzabigi. It's like Mozambique, but different. Mayor Mozzabigi. I think that works. At the ill-fated awards ceremony. Mr. Mosem Fettuccini. His full name. Fettuccino Mozzabichi. No, Siri, I'm not talking to you. Mozambique. Mozzabigi. Uh, it wants me to correct it to Mozambique. So, yeah, we did our job there. It's the Italian version of Mozambique. I think that's actually all the crafting artists. So that's pretty cool. Oh, we need a little blurb here. Maybe should we do a play on like how they thought she was a criminal? Criminal. Sorry. That's a FNAF reference. Subtly regal flair. Favorite king, George the Second. I don't know. Victoria Parks. Maybe something along the lines of like, you know, something that has to do with royalty, maybe like queen of her own castle or something like that. Yas, queen slay. Dang. You can tell it's getting late. I'm starting to like. Whoa. Still got one more in me though. I think we got time for one more after this, but I wanna figure this out. I don't want to use has surprisingly straight teeth. That seems pretty rude in it. Yeah, I know she's British. I think I want some sort of royalty motif going on here. I kind of do like queen of her own castle. That kind of sums it up, right? She served royalty, they kicked her out, but she sort of like thrived on her own. You know. Let's go with that. Ooh, look at that. Ooh, cute. Fancy. It looks bolder than everything else. Queen of Castle. Queen of her own castle. Okay, so crafting is done. So now we can actually move on to culinary. So the first culinary artist that we have here is Belhest Flake. He specializes in appetizers. Into the flip phase of target's drive health is not below their base drive. Okay. Belhest Flake. School of Crafting. School of Culinary. Nationality? Belhest Flake. Belhest Flake. He kind of strikes me as either American or, I don't know, maybe Canadian. He could be like North American. He's got that North American look about him. You know. I think Canadian works. Canadian works for me. Canadian. Boosh. Everything is right with the world. Okay, Belhest Flake. He's a little bit odd. He's a little eccentric, I think. He's from Canada. He specializes in appetizers. One day, he waited for 5 hours for the main dish. He was so hungry. He wished he had appetizers. So from that day, I swore I would make the appetizer in Nator. I shouldn't have done that voice. Wow. I'm surprised my voice is holding up like it is right now. Belhest. Let's see, appetizers. It's the first. You know, it's like a little stuff. Maybe he can only do appetizers. Everything else he struggles with. He's never made an entree in his life. It's just the appetizers. Maybe he personally believes that appetizers get overlooked as just like, you know, a side dish, when they should be considered you know, proper food in their own right. He dies on this hill, you know. Maybe he's upset with the lack of breakfast-themed appetizers. He sought to pioneer the breakfast appetizer. I mean, think about it. What kind of appetizers do you get at breakfast? Like none. Like individual strips of bacon? I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Breakfast appetizers. Like, I feel like there's a void here. Enjoys free healthcare. He probably does. He does enjoy free healthcare. Test would often visit a diner in his hometown. Often visited a diner in his hometown for breakfast. Their menu. A void. Options for appetizers. To see his favorite. That's a European spelling word. That's not a spelling. Restaurant. Wanting only to see his favorite restaurant be the best. It could be the best. It could be. With ideas. Food in the morning does not taste good. Can the best breakfast cook to prove even What a flex that would be. Food in the morning does not taste good. Became the best breakfast cook ever to prove even Master's breakfast food is still not good. I like that. I like that as an angle. I don't really think it works here for Belhest. I might save that for later though. I don't know, we'll see. I'm writing that down though. That's very funny. Appetizers, wanting only to see his restaurant be the best it could be. He went home and experimented with some ideas. Should he be praised or should he be asked to leave? Belhus would often visit a diner in his hometown for breakfast. He loved everything on their menu, but noticed a void in their options for breakfast appetizers. Wanting only to see his favorite restaurant be the best it could be, he went home and experimented with some ideas. After presenting his results to the chefs, he was asked to leave. Like they are insulted by the idea. He was asked to leave. They were appalled and appalled by the notion of breakfast appetizers altogether. Bellis was crushed. But resolved to prove them wrong by becoming a pioneer in bringing first appetizer to the main stream. Like it's an underground thing. Belhouse was crushed, but resolved to prove them wrong by becoming a pioneer in bringing the breakfast appetizer to the mainstream. And he was in Mieus probably, like, we could say he's there to cater, I guess. But, you know, he could also be unveiling his brand new creation. The miniature pancake stack. The pancake bite, you know. I mean, that's a thing already, right? Like a pancake ball. Okay, imagine this. Dippin' Dots, but the dots are pancake. Participated in the grand showcase. His innovation. Pancake pellets. Innovation. What he calls cake Pebbles. Something like that. I'm not good at branding. His latest innovation: small balls of pancake that he calls pancake pebbles. You know, it's like that kind of store, like you know, like gastro. What is it called? Like that kind of cooking where they use these weird scientific methods, like with like liquid nitrogen and stuff like that. Like gastronomy, is that what it's called? Yeah. Sort of like that. Like new age breakfast appetizer. I'd try pancake pebbles. Maybe. I don't know. Don't know what they're served with, but. And finally, the little fun fact. Nationality, Canadian. Pint of cake. Pint of cake. That is better. That is better, though. Pint o cake. Walls of pancake that he calls pint o cake. That's catchier. I like that. Eats waffles cold. He's hardcore. He's serious about breakfast. He is so keenly aware of what food is that he's able to eat waffles cold and enjoy it. The madman. Okay. Well, good stuff. What do we... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We did 6 artists today. And, you know, I also spent about 30 minutes doing, you know, doing the April Fool's bit and reading the other plot that I hadn't showed you guys beforehand. Flake and take. The shake and bake. Flake and bake. That's him, baby. Is the Bell has flake and bake, baby. Let's go. I also like to imagine he bought that restaurant out, like, from them, to spite them. You took everything from me. No, I took everything from you. Okay, anyway. That is that, as they say. So, say goodbye to limited edition bamboo silverware set. Oops. No. Hey guys, remember when you didn't tell me that you were all watching a black screen for the first hour of the stream? Remember that? That was very funny. Why did you do that? Anyway, that was then. This is now. The stream is over. Um, that was good. That was fun, I think. Hope you guys had a good time. My voice again was kind of shot today due to allergies. I think it was okay though. Had my trusty hydration. Um, we got good progress done considering all the time I spent doing other things. Yeah, I've been having fun doing the writing stuff on stream. More than I thought I would. So, I'll continue to do this until the next creative project, cuz this should be the last thing to do before printing Ego Opus and actually doing like some test some play tests, which hopefully don't need major corrections, but any corrections that I do make, I'll try to put those on stream if the timing is right. But yeah, next week, next week, we'll be doing more writing for Ego Opus if I still have some left over to do, because I'll be doing this stuff off stream as well. But next week, like this coming Monday, we're starting Gaming Week, which should have some pretty cool stuff in store. The first on Monday we will be starting and probably, hopefully, finishing The Ship, which is like a murder mystery thing, a single player murder mystery game. I think it's intended for multiplayer, but there's a single player mode, so we'll see what that is. It's been sitting in my Steam library for who knows how long, so but according to How Long to Beat, it's only about 2.5 hours, 3 hours long. So we'll do our best to beat it in one stream, I think. Even if it does take 3 hours, I'll extend it to 3 so we can finish it in one go. But after that, we will start cutting into my PS2 backlog. Now that I have my Elgato ready to go, we will be starting on that. The list of PS2 games in the backlog, at least for this batch, are down below in the about section of the stream. Not in the description if you're watching on YouTube. It's in the stream description. I've decided to do them in batches because I have like 38 on my backlog, so I'm gonna take it in chunks of like 9. Right now, I'm thinking the first one that we're going to do is Killzone. But we could, in any order we choose to do them, I try to pick out a good variety. So I'm excited to start the PS2 stuff. I'll need to figure out how to set up my microphone and all that in the living room. But yeah. Anyway, again, that's all for today. Thank you everybody for being here today, for listening, watching, supporting the stream with your presence. I appreciate everybody that that chooses to hop in. Thank you, Cap. I think it was a good stream tonight. I don't usually ask, but I figured I'm thinking about it right now. But if you'd like to help support the stream some more, if you enjoyed today's stream, leave a follow, or feel free to follow, because I do similar stuff like this all the time. This and gaming. I swap between them. And my goal right now is to get emotes, and that's really it. I'll be happy when I can finally use my own emotes. I mean, Pog is pretty Pog. I mean, Pog for Pog and chat, everybody. But like, you know, we've had some ideas for a little bit for some emotes that I think would be funny. So, yeah, that's the goal right now. But I hope you, whether or not you follow, you know, that's just on your own volition. But I do hope to see you next time in the next stream. Monday, 6 to 8, as per usual. But until then, have a good night. Have a great weekend. Happy April Fools. And goodbye.